let's see, can I record here? Steve is a volunteer. He works at the Department of Employment and Economic Development. I'll let him explain the details of that, but that's what you might think of as the workforce center. There are veterans reps there that are just there to help you with your employment. And Steven's got an interesting topic that he wants to share. So I'm going to let him share that, and go ahead and take it away. Steven.
I see Lana has her hand up first. So.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. I just wanted to make sure that if anybody going for is like looking for Stephen, myself, or Rebecca, or anybody, that you're not going out there looking for a workforce center. We changed our name approximately 3 years ago. It's Career Force. It's just straight Career Force. So we don't go by workforce center. It's just something that people say, but you won't be able to Google it because it's no longer, we've changed the name. So Career Force.
Thank you, Lana, for the correction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when Alan worked here, it was Workforce Center, but it is Career Force. Lana is one of my fantastic coworkers. So is Rebecca. And the presentation I have tonight is on resumes. I would like this to be as interactive as possible. And I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint I have and hopefully share my screen and make it work. So can people see that?
Yep.
Excellent. So like I said, I would like this interactive. What is your resume saying about you? Anybody?
Hardworking, loyal, dependable, lovable, trustworthy, brave, kind.
Anyone? So you're a
I'm a dog.
Yeah. So
it just tells people what your qualifications are and maybe what kind of a position you're interested in.
Yeah. And some of the most important parts, in my opinion, and my fine coworkers may chime in and say, you know, well, no, you need to do this, but the professional summary. I've talked to a lot of businesses, and before I was the leaver, I was the employer navigator here. So I've been working with businesses for quite a while, and they tell me that they will spend 3 to 5 seconds on your resume. If you can't wow them in that time, they've moved on. So you want to get that professional summary, and you want to show some accomplishments. And those could be 2 different areas on your resume. So, okay, my slides are not advanced. There we go. What is one thing that shows your qualifications better than all the others? You know, what makes your resume stand out? Seeing as my fine coworker Rebecca just finished her certification, maybe she might want to say something. or maybe she may want to throw something at me.
No, it's okay. Yeah, Stephen's right. I just found out today that I just became certified as a CPRW, Certified Professional Resume Writer. So I'm pretty excited about that. I did a lot of studying, did a lot of reading. So I have some knowledge. So Stephen mentioned your professional summary. So it's also known, in some cases, some professional resume writers refer to it as your value statement, So it kind of ties in. It's usually about roughly, maybe 4 or 5 lines, maybe not quite that long, kind of ties in. It ties in a very brief summary, your experience, your background, your qualifications, it kind of bridges the gap between what you did in your previous positions compared to the job that you're actually applying for. So the employer can see right there, you know, the top third of your first page of your resume is the most important part of the entire resume. If the recruiter or the employer isn't wowed in the first third of your first page, they're not even going to bother to read the rest. So this is where you need to spend most of your time focusing on. And yeah, so you want to grab them, you know, right off the bat, you want to grab their attention with that professional summary. Yep.
And then adding some accomplishment statements underneath that can really help also. So what sets you apart from the other candidates? You served in the military. Make that known. Make sure they understand that, hey, this person is a vet. There's a lot of companies that really do want to hire veterans. Make sure you put that in your professional summary. I've looked at a lot of resumes that it's way down on the bottom, or it's not even on there at all. One of our former DevOps here, when he was first laid off, didn't even understand that he was a veteran. So, you know, make sure you put on there, honorably discharged from the United States Air Force. I'm Air Force, that's why I said that. My fine coworker, Rebecca, is Navy. So, you know, make sure you put that in there. That's
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So everything that I've been told with regards to resume is to put it sequentially. And if being a veteran is my most distant career or piece, like I've had other relevant career items since then, or career paths since then, how do I develop that, or how do I integrate that into the top third if it's literally the bottom piece that's on there?
Well, if you're using a chronologic resume, you may not put it in the chronologic section because you only want to go back 10 to 15 years, but put in your professional summary, maybe the last line in there, honorably discharged from, and what branch did you serve in, sir?
I was in the Army until 2014.
Okay. Honorably discharged from the United States Army. You don't have to put in what you did there. If they're interested, they'll ask. It's just a way for them to know, hey, we have a veteran here. You know, I talked to one company a few years ago, and I was trying to get them to hire veterans. They didn't want to hire veterans, and their best worker was a Navy vet. And I asked, well, you know, what about Rob here? Well, Rob's my best worker. He served in the Navy. Can you send me more like him? Yes. So they really do want to know that. Make sure you let them know. And does that help you with how you would put it in there?
Sorry, my computer is freaking out on me.
Technology.
It does. I honestly, and up until this point, thought that I had a really good resume because I've had many people tell me that my resume looks really good. And at this point, I'm kind of questioning everything. So,
well, you don't have
to sure anymore.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You probably have a fantastic start. Just do some little tweaks. You know, I'm going to stress again, that professional summary, that is so important, because if they don't get past that, and I've worked with a number of people who didn't even have a professional summary, they just went into the laundry list of their previous jobs and, well, all my information is in there. Yes, because I spent a half hour on your resume, I found everything and it's fantastic. Make it into short little statements. You know, I've seen some fantastic resumes but nobody would read that much because they're not going to get that far. There's a few different ways to put together a resume. I generally recommend a skills-based targeted type resume versus a chronologic resume, but sometimes you have no choice. That company wants a chronologic resume and they're going to have you submit that. Another question I get a lot is, should I use graphics? Well, if you're going into the graphic arts, yes, you should. If you're not, maybe not. You know, my background is in IT. I don't recommend that for an IT person. You don't want to be using a lot of graphics because IT people don't really get into that when they're looking at resumes. Yeah, when they're building websites and stuff, yes, but when they're looking at resumes, no. Because I was an actual IT manager. And unless it actually had in the top part that the person served in the military, because I actually did look for that, and most of the people that I hired were veterans, I would move on. So that targeted skills-based resume, what does that look like? Anybody have any ideas?
Yeah, that's where your resume addresses the requirements of the actual position. You try to highlight your experience that matches it.
Yes, sir. That is exactly it. And that doesn't mean reinventing the wheel. What you would want to do is, yeah, the rest of the body of the email or the resume is going to be the same no matter what. It's just that professional summary will be tweaked specifically for that job. They'll tell you what they want, whether it's in the job posting or through your network. You know, they do tell you what they want. Give it back to them. Now, I don't recommend plagiarizing their job posting. Put it in your own words, but if what they have in the job posting is true about them or about you, make sure that you tell them that. I know how to do this. I know how to build this type of computer system. I know how to configure this type of router. Tell them that. That's what they want to know. The rest of it, they're going to find out in the interview, but you want to get into that interview. The chronologic resume. That is what most people think of when they think about a resume. You know, I got my objective, and the objective is just another word for your professional summary. It's just the older style. And then they do the laundry list of their previous jobs and what they did there. They put in their education. I don't recommend having any dates for your education or your GPAs unless you're looking at a position in education. And that would open up a whole nother realm. That would be the CV. So unless you actually need a CV, don't worry about it.
I was going to add to what Stephen just said about the GPA. GPA can be very important if you're a recent graduate and you have limited work experience. So if you're a recent graduate, you don't have a lot of work experience in that field that you are trying to get a job in, a GPA could be very important. However, if you graduated from college, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it probably doesn't matter so much.
Or like me in 1981.
Don't date yourself. I keep telling you that.
Once you get a 6 in front of your age, it doesn't matter anymore. But I also recommend putting in any volunteer work. Put that in your resume and list it in the job area. Just make sure that you annotate that it was a volunteer. Because a lot of companies really like to see their employees out helping the community. And especially the bigger companies, they really like that. Make sure you have that in there. Then there's another type of a resume. Don't see it very often anymore, but the gorilla resume. And I remember many years ago when Alan was in charge of our vets group here, that was one of the things that he had us make is a gorilla resume. And it was popular for what, about 6 months, Alan?
Yep.
After that, it kind of went away.
Yeah.
But you see over on the side, I have a little bit of an example of what that might look like. Kind of the logos from your previous companies. Of course, I had to put my bomb wing logo in there. So this could be a good one if you're in marketing or graphic arts or something like that, where they want to see what you can do. If you're going to be creating their marketing materials, they might want to see, hey, what can you do for me? This could be a good way to do that. Any questions about the gorilla type resume? Okay. Well, the main questions and answers, any questions about any of the different areas?
Do you have any examples that you can show of a formatted template or a formatted layout resume example that would work? To show,
I tried
like, the summary.
I tried to find some earlier today, but it wasn't very successful in doing that. I do have a document, and I'll have to unshare my screen to do that because I can't see anything else right now. Stop sharing. There we go. And I got to stop my PowerPoint. Even with 3 screens, it's a little harder to do. I will put this in chat. And I use this same basic template for all of the resumes that I do. And then what I do is I usually highlight in red what I want people to look at. Did that upload? Yeah, I guess it did. Okay. That's the basic of what I do, and it's laid out in the order that I would recommend. Now, Rebecca might recommend a different type of a format, but that's what I've seen has worked and what a number of the employers that I've talked to in the past have recommended.
Are you sharing your screen, Stephen, or did you put something in chat?
I put it in chat. Didn't it go through?
I don't see it.
Not
No.
seeing it in there.
There he is.
Okay. I guess it was a delayed reaction.
So this is Michael and Stephen. I said, did you cover number of pages a resume should be too?
No, I did not. Because that's really subjective. If you've had a long history and you're applying for a higher level job, having 3 pages, 4 pages might be okay. Otherwise, I would recommend keeping it to 2 pages. And as they say in that training that Rebecca just finished, 2 pages are better than 3, and 1 page is better than 2. So you want to keep it simple.
It really depends. It depends on how much experience you have. Generally, 2 pages is about standard. But if you have a lot of experience that's relevant, keyword relevant to the job that you're applying for, you can go to 3. but generally, I think on average, about 2 pages is fine. The only exception, and this is our, you know, if I could put a bold asterisk, you know, exclamation point, the exceptions are federal resumes. You know, federal resumes are going to be a lot longer than your standard, you know, traditional resume. They can go up to 6 pages, and even that is fine for a federal resume.
Oof.
Hey, Stephen, what is like the biggest mistakes that you've been seeing vets making recently on their resumes?
Well, I'm one to talk about this, but spelling, and my spelling is atrocious. Just because I have a PhD does not mean I know how to spell. It just means I know how to use Microsoft Word. So that's really important. You want to spell things correctly.
And I'm going to agree with that. There, you should make sure that there are no errors, no spelling errors, no punctuation errors, nothing. There should be no errors. You know, if an employers can get very, very picky. If they have a lot of candidates to choose from, they'll have a lot of resumes to go through. The first ones they're going to toss out are the ones that have typos in them.
So misspelling attention to detail is definitely not something to recommend.
Yeah, no. So I tried uploading the Word document to the chat. That didn't work. So I made it a PDF and uploaded that. That did work.
Rebecca, there's a question from Renee in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. So the reason why a federal resume is so much longer is because the government wants more information. They want a lot more information. They want to know practically every detail. They want to know how many hours you worked per week, what your salary was, your employer's name. They want to know if they can contact your employer. They want a lot more information than a typical company. So that's why they just want a lot more information. And so including, what should we include on those that extend the length? There are standardized federal resume examples that you could take a look at to see what is required, what it actually looks like. The best advice I can give you is to go to USA Jobs. Just go straight to their website, because they do a lot. They do try to help applicants write their resume. They give you all kinds of tips. So the best thing to do is go onto USA Jobs, and you'll see the information that's on there. They'll show you examples.
And Derek Williams from MacV does a fantastic presentation on creating federal resumes and using usajobs.gov. I just put in the chat the flyer for MacV.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, I put in the chat. Angela Oberlin said to say hi to Alan, Michael, Sheila, Rebecca, and said to say hi to you also, Stephen. So I was on the phone with her. I apologize. Okay. But yes, Derek, he works with the VA and the CRRC, but he runs this webinar through MacV, and it's great.
So one of the other things with the federal and state resumes that you want to be careful with is make sure you have the complete date, because if you put January to December, they're going to figure it's the end of January and the 1st of December. So you might have just lost 2 months. Put the full date in there. If it's January 2nd that you started, put January 2nd, both for the state and federal.
How do you deal with so many military people change duty stations, and the person who's at that organization may not even know you were there? So what do you do in the cases of when you get to references and who you were working for, and what's the contact information? Put the organization, or do you ask the person you work with for permission to use their personal contact information.
Well, chances are they're not going to give you that permission. What I've always recommended is your last best information. So I've worked for companies that no longer exist.
Yeah.
You know, put the last known information that you have. That's about the best you can do. You know, if your supervisor no longer works for that company, they worked there when you were there, you know, and chances are somebody at the company will know the supervisor. Oh yeah, they were here 5 years ago. They're not here anymore.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the other thing is your references don't always have to be a previous employer or a previous supervisor. A reference can be anybody that you have worked with that can speak to your experience and your ability to do the job that you're applying for. That's what a reference is. Doesn't always have to be a former boss or a former supervisor.
And somebody who can speak to your character too.
Yes, I was just going to say speaks to your character. I had a neighbor growing up who I looked at as a second dad, and he could judge me and my character and hopefully, fingers crossed, sing my praises to whoever, and I used him as a reference.
And those volunteer organizations as well, not
Yes.
just employers or whatever.
Those are massive. If you can put volunteering on your resume and show that, yeah.
Volunteer organizations, you're working there. Alan is working right now. He's working for Eagle Group. So
Correct.
yeah, you know,
He gets paid so well for it too.
Yes, indeed. I get paid in smiles.
Gratitude.
Miles of
Our
smiles.
gratitude.
well, once in a while I buy him a burger.
That's true.
But you know, that is relevant experience, and especially if it has something to do with what you're looking to do for your employment, or can speak to that character again. I don't recommend putting references available on request on your resume. When they want them, they'll ask for them. That you're just using up valuable real estate by that. You also do want to have white space. You do not want to cover the resume, and Alan is there snickering because he knows where I'm going with this. When I first got laid off, Alan was my DVOP, and I came in with my resume, and the only thing I knew about a resume at that time was it should be kept to 2 pages. And I succeeded in keeping it to 2 pages. It was in 6-point type with no margins. It looked like one big black blob. Without even reading a word, he handed it back to me and said, "Start over."
Oh, I might have saw some words in there, maybe.
I doubt it. So, you know, formatting in a way that it's readable. If you download that document that I put in there on the resume how-to, I do recommend using the Microsoft standard of Calibre and 11-point. You know, bold your name, bold the job titles, but don't change the fonts. You know, I see a lot of people who get really creative with fonts. Don't do that. It makes it hard to read. And back a number of years ago, there was a thing that people were saying, well, in the white space, put in all of the things for the job, even if it isn't true for you, but do it in white type. Don't do that, because when you send it through an applicant tracking system, that will read it and it'll come out the other end in black type. Don't do that. Have that nice white space. Do you need to have the professional resume paper? No. Only if you're going to personally hand it to somebody or have one of your contacts within the company. hand it to somebody, then yes, you want to have nicer paper. Otherwise, everything is going to get shredded. Even if you do send it to them, they're going to scan it in and shred the original. Nobody wants mountains of paper anymore. So unless it's, you know that it's going to a human, don't put it on expensive paper. That's a waste of money.
I was going to add to that by saying that if you are using resume paper, make sure if it has a watermark, like one that has letters on it, make sure that the letters are facing the right way and not backwards. Just hold it up to the light and you'll be able to tell. And if you are writing also, you should be writing a cover letter at the same time. That's probably a whole different animal, maybe, Stephen. But
It is.
yeah, it is.
I think that would be another session to talk about the cover letter, because you definitely do not want to just simply regurgitate what you put in the resume. Once again, that's a waste of the recruiters, the HR person, and the hiring manager's time. They don't have that kind of time to spend reading the same thing multiple times.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only reason why I brought up the cover letter is that if you are writing a cover letter to go along with the resume, make sure that the contact information, your name, city, state, phone number, LinkedIn, URL, all that stuff, make sure that the formatting is exactly the same on the cover letter as it is on the resume itself. It's a simple copy paste. And so that's the only reason why I brought that up.
Now, that is really an excellent point. And you also want to make sure that if you have a multiple page resume, that your contact information is on every page, because the pages might get separated. And you can actually do that in the header. And that way, by default, Microsoft will always put it in every page. Any other questions, comments, or tell me I'm full of it? Alan's just snickering.
I love it.
Thank you,
Couldn't find the
Stephen.
unmute button. I couldn't find the unmute button quick enough, so now it's not funny. Sorry, no, I'm kidding, Stephen.
Oh, very good.
Good job,
Well,
Stephen.
thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you.
Awesome.